March 10, 2023. This is the S&P 500 2000 tick chart on the eFutures Mini on the Thinkorswim platform. You don't have to watch this entire video. If you're just interested where I saw some setups, just go down to the descriptions below. I've time-stamped everything with regards to the time of day as well as where to go in the video. So actually, I didn't take any trades today. I did quote unquote trade the whole day. I was just watching, but I didn't see very many opportunities set up that I liked. I'm currently working on my patience to make sure I don't jump in on the trades that are, so-so setups, but me just trying to force a trade for the sake of trading. So unfortunately, I didn't get any trades in today, but there were a couple setups that I saw and I liked, but for one reason or another, I didn't take it. I think part of it might have been I wasn't ready. So the trade, by the time I was ready to take the trade had already moved and most likely to hit my profit target. So I certainly don't want to enter there and chase the trade. So the volume and volatility was kind of interesting today. So this is what the chart looked like. It looked like it was going to be in a trading range. And this is how I this is how I marked up my charts. Looks like it was going to be in a trading range, but it looked like it was just kind of whipsawed all over the place and then eventually sold off and then kind of consolidated in this trading range. And there's only, I guess, two catalysts today. One was the unemployment numbers, and they came out showing that unemployment was, had gone down, so people are going back to work. So whether that's good or bad, as interpreted by the market, is hard to say because on something that might be seemingly good news, like, okay, there's less people unemployed, that sounds like it's good, the market could drop. Same thing if like unemployment numbers were really high, like a lot of people were out of work, the market could also rally due to that. So it's really hard to say. I also want to point out the volume was very high, as I said before, because if you look at the daily chart, like this is the volume candle, it's so huge today, right? The reason being is because options expiration for the futures is coming up. So what does that mean? So if you've been trading the ES, you've been trading the March contracts, which is going to expire in 7 days. So what's happening is, if you look at the daily volume, this is extremely high. And typically the next quarter's expiration is usually pretty low. But since it's 7 days away, some traders start trading the next quarter's contract even before this one expires. And as as next Friday approaches, you're going to see more volume shift from this current contract size or contract, the March 23rd to the June. So you're actually going to see this invert. And then once this actually expires and goes away, you're going to see very little trading on these September contracts because most people are going to trade the current contract. Because when you trade the Emini Futures, it's not exactly the same as trading shares. You're actually trading a contract, and that expires. So why is the volume so high? It's because if you had a long position, or if you're an institution, you're probably trading out of these current expiration contracts to the new one. So you're probably cycling and churning a lot of shares from this down to here because this is like very high. Typically, there's only like a few thousand. And if you watch in about, more than 7 days, let's say at about next Monday, not this coming Monday, but the Monday afterwards, you're going to see, because this one's going to go away, you're going to actually see that this is going to be very large. And then the next quarter's contract, which will be September, will be kind of like right here, very tiny, only maybe a few thousand. So that also caused a little bit of choppiness today, I suspect. But all in all, I still didn't see very many setups that I liked or that I felt safe taking. So I'm going to go into the charts today, and also the news for the unemployment numbers came out right here around 5:30 in the morning. But I don't trade the pre-market, and then these are all the indicated setups that I saw. Now they're setups, but they're not necessarily trades I would have taken. It's just something I pointed out for myself, just because maybe it would have been a trade if I was more experienced and I seen enough of this price action to know, okay, this is actually going to work in this direction. But I'm not there yet. But I do want to identify it just to point out to myself, hey, there might have been something here. Just keep an eye on it. So this is pre-market. It looked like it was going up. It looked like it was going to start a trading range. But as soon as it opened, the first setup I saw happened pretty quickly, right around 3 minutes after the open, right here. What I saw was prices are coming down. I draw this trend channel, and it has these good touches up here. And originally, I wasn't sure if it's actually up here, But once the market opened, I dragged it just to be down here because it touched better, and I just threw in the midline. So I do see a new low, first entry short, comes up, it forms a second entry short, and I actually thought this was actually a pretty decent trade to have taken. I didn't take it though, because it makes a double bottom. If it exceeded one tick below, that would have been awesome, perfect, but it did go right below the EMA, and it closed below the EMA. It also had two pretty clear legs up, and it rejected off the top of this trend channel. So I think this would have been a worthwhile trade to put one tick right here. And as you can see, it actually works out pretty well. So you would have gotten a scalp and probably a decent runner, but I wasn't prepared. And I typically am a little more careful right when the market opens because it's only 3 minutes in. And look, it's only been 3 minutes and you already have this many candles. On a 1 minute chart, you'd only have 3 candles. But on a 2000 tick chart, you already have like, it looks like it's about 12 to 13 candles. So it's moving very rapidly. So I'm okay just letting that trade go because the day is still setting up. There's could be potential other trades. Then I see a second setup. I see a new low. It didn't quite touch the bottom. I see a first entry short, and this is setting up for a second entry short, very similar to this guy. And what happens is, if I put my entry right here, it would have worked. However, I don't like the looks of this candle because this is the signal bar. It's very bullish. This is technically the signal bar because you could say this is a signal bar, but it's actually this guy. Once it broke lower, then you're pretty safe that it's going to keep heading down. And it was below the EMA. This is kind of a different setup, even though it's a second entry short. It's coming from the bottom up, while this one's already from the top down. So I thought, okay, this is a setup, but I don't think it's a good trade. And I also thought, okay, there's potentially one leg and then maybe a second leg up, even though it's been respected here. It's just I wasn't too sure, so I left that trade alone. Prices continue moving down. I don't see a good setup. And now it's touching the bottom of this channel, which is good because it kind of confirms that this is a good guideline to use for trading. This red line is just here. It shows up. I drew it in later, but it's just showing up right now, so you can ignore it. I don't have that to help me trade at that time of day. Goes in this trading range. It kind of starts breaking up, and it breaks out for the first time of this trend channel. It looks like it's breaking up. I'm looking to see if it's a true reversal or just a correction because I'm looking for a failed second entry short, which technically happens here when it goes back up, but it's still within the big channel. So I don't like that. It's also too close to the EMA. Prices continue chopping, and then this is where I see a second entry long potential setup. So right here, it's like a new high, first entry long, comes up, and right here could potentially make a second entry long. So I'm constantly watching candles as they form because I'm just watching, okay, is it going to break above, getting ready, but I don't like the signal bar. It's only a first entry, and then you're just kind of sitting on your hands watching, and I go, okay, they might set up here. And this one does finally set up. But had this one actually closed up higher, I would have paid more attention, or I'm paying attention, but I would have been more ready to have a trade order ready. But this is a pretty not the best signal bar. It looks like too neutral, right? It's too low down here. I just thought, okay, well, if the signal bar had only closed a little higher, that would have been, something I would have been more adamant, ready to jump on, but it didn't. It just kind of looked like it's a little bearish, right? It's below the EMA. It does have like a third confirmation of this channel because it's like 1, 2, 3. And this is the first time it made it. You can count this as the fourth time, but I'm just saying it's the third time grouped together. And certainly you could treat it as maybe a visual second entry short failure because you could say this is one leg down, second leg down, and now it's kind of coming back up. So you could say it, but I thought it was a little early. There's just too much conflicting details for my experience level to tell me like, yeah, definitely you should, try this trade out. So maybe in the future, if I get better, I might have taken that trade. However, this does set up kind of nicely where it's like a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. And this is a second entry short currently, and I'm thinking it might be a second entry short failure. Helps confirm this trend line again. And it does have a, although it closed bearish, it does have a decent signal bar. It's holding above the EMA. Consider like 2 key entry points. So if you take the trade like one tick above, it's a little risky, but I think it would have worked out, and it turned out it does work out. So I had all those thoughts going through my head. I couldn't process it quick enough to just say, well, I should take that trade. On top of that, there was enough room to this previous high. So there's enough room for you to take a scalp. So definitely, I think this is a possible trade. And hopefully I see more of these and just am more ready next time. Because here it looks like clearly it's a reversal or a correction is taking place now. Prices continue moving up. I draw this trend channel now. Well, this one's already existing, and I wasn't 100% sure where this guy was at the time. I just put him up here kind of early, and it's great that it confirmed because I might have had him lower, maybe touching here and just treated this as an overshoot, but I don't like the overshoot happening so early in the trading channel, in the life of the trading channel. So actually it turned out to be pretty good. And that's where I see a new high, first entry long. I'm watching here potentially for a second entry long. But the thing with the second entry long is this is kind of a neutral, it's a bullish candle closed above the EMA, but I felt it's kind of neutral. So if I were to take the trade, I put it one tick above, and it looks like it would have worked out. But each subsequent candle afterwards, they're all kind of like doji-ish. You know, the body's toward the center. There's no very strong, firm like candles like this, or candles where it has more of the body at the higher section. So it would have worked out, but I don't know how I would have known to take the trade other than being more experienced, which is coming along, but it's still taking some time. Prices continue moving up. I draw this trading range now. Now, had I drawn this trading range and connected these two and touched this third one, I think I would have seen it as potentially 2 key entry points and a close above the EMA. So that would have given me more confidence that this trade might work out going long. Plus, it's going with trend. But at the time when this formed, I didn't have this trading range drawn. I didn't even have this support, even though it's potentially a triple test. I could have been more aware, but I just wasn't. So kind of chalk it up to experience. I'll just make sure keep those in mind if I was looking for another key entry point confirmation. Prices continue chopping. It's kind of playing within this trading range now. It breaks out below. And here I thought it might be a failed breakout, but I just didn't like the look and the character of this choppiness, even though I do draw this trend channel going down. Oh, I also drew this arrow here and this one. It was just to see if there's a measured move, and it was, but there was no trade setup for me to take. So it was, although it's just good to see, I didn't see any opportunity that it helped offer me. Same thing here. I drew a trend, a measured move from here, and I thought, okay, it might be another measured move. So when it gets close to this, there might be some kind of potential reaction. It's not necessarily a hard requirement or basis to take a trade off of, but it does help to kind of see where prices might go or might react. Prices continue moving. I mean, you could say there's a new low, first entry short, second entry short, and well, this is a terrible signal bar. So taking this second entry short is a little risky in my opinion, but it was there. I didn't mark it. Prices continue moving up. And then it looks like it's, so at this point, I do draw this trend trading range because I thought, okay, there's good touches here, and then there's 2 touches down here. I originally did have this a little higher, like up to here, and I thought this might be a overshoot, but then later I do drag it down. And then I do see, okay, let's go in here. So it's going up, and I saw, okay, there's a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. But when this formed, I just didn't like the looks of this candle. It's too neutral. It's in this bigger trading range that I have right now. It's kind of hitting the midline, so I don't know if it's going to bounce or break through. It just wasn't telling me much right now. I wanted a more definitive bullish close. If it closed higher up, like this body was bigger and up here, then I would have been more comfortable taking a trade there. But this one just looked like it was some indecision, a little iffy. Prices continue moving up, and then it came crashing back down. It's going another trading range, another area of congestion. I don't really like anything that I see in there, so I just left it alone. It breaks out of this trading range, and it goes up. It's chopping around, and I do see a new high here. First entry long, and then this is a second entry long when it formed, so right here. And when it sprung up, I saw it, and I thought, oh, is there a potential trade that I had missed? Not really. I don't feel too bad about skipping this trade because this isn't a very good signal bar. It's kind of, well, it's very bearish. I don't have this trading range drawn in yet. I did have a suspected resistance up here, but I didn't draw the other part down here until later. So it could have easily been just a failed breakout, maybe up here, but I wasn't sure. Later, it shows up, and then had I been able to go back in time, I'd say, well, there's like two key entry points. It's bouncing off the EMA and bouncing off this line, but there was no way really for me to know that this line exists here. I suppose I could have drawn it as a triple test down here and touching, but that will come with more experience if I see this more clearly, but I didn't, so I just kind of left it alone. Prices continue moving, it's chopping up and down, comes back, tests the bottom of this trading range again. It's also testing the top of this bigger trading range, breaks down below and breaks out above, and it kind of continues to run. So I draw this as one potential measure move, and I put this guy here, seeing where it might potentially crawl back up to. Prices are moving up. I don't see anything that I like. There's no way to really get in on this unless you just close your eyes, buy, and hope. And it almost makes it to the top, makes a measured move. And now it's kind of like pulling back a bit, which is reasonable because it made two clean legs up. One leg, consolidation, second leg. And now it looks like it's coming back. But I, again, don't see anything that I particularly like. I do see a failed second entry long here because there's a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. Now, when it makes the second entry long, it looks like it already tried to make a push to try to test this extreme once. So it's trying a second time. When this forms, it certainly could go again, but I marked it after the fact. And when I saw this come down, I said, oh, okay, it's a failed second entry long. But this failed second entry long, this candle is just like too bullish. It closed above the EMA, and then this one comes crashing back down. On top of that, I'm not sure if this is going to act as a resistance. Is there a triple test here? Is it going to bounce back up? So there's right now, the previous bias was bullish. Now it's correcting because the uptrend played out. Now it's coming back down. But is it going to have one quick little bounce off of here? To take a short here is a little risky. I suppose I could have backed it up here, but even if I took one tick below this green one, how much of an expectation do I have that it's going to come down to here and break through again? I'm not sure. So I just said, it's there, but it doesn't look safe. It doesn't look like a high probability. Turns out it would have worked, but of course I don't know that at the time. Prices continue down, and now it's chopping. So I draw, okay, potentially another leg down here. I couldn't get a good trend channel to fit, so I just drew this one, then I drew a smaller one, and then it looks like this one's formulating here. I don't see any good second entries through all this chop, and that's unfortunate because this looks like a pretty nice, consistent, steady move down. Would have earned quite a few points. Then chopped around some more. I'm just kind of sitting on my hands. At this time of day, I'm just wondering, okay, what exactly is happening? Because you look back and you see kind of like a trading range here. You got these crazy trend lines going up, down, up, down. It's just very choppy. This trading range itself is like not being really respected by too many times. So maybe it's just a trading range in this region, and then over here it's hard to really know. I was respecting this lower support here, but then what is my top? It would be up here, but then I'd really only have maybe a junky confirmation up here. And this is a really big breakout to be considered a failed breakout of this trading range. The failed breakout is already bigger than the trading range itself. So that kind of negates that this trading range is going to come into play maybe so far away, but who knows? And so prices continue moving. It starts going up again. At this point, I draw this bigger trend channel because I could get two touches, potentially a third, and then a touchdown here. And on the bottom end, I wasn't 100% sure where it was going to be because I thought it could potentially be here, and this could be like an overshoot breakout and it comes back in. But I eventually settled on putting it down here. And so prices continue moving. It looks like it's staying within this big channel. And I do draw this smaller channel here because it looks like it's capturing some of the price action a little bit cleaner. It's coming down, and it looks like it's in this trading range again. So I do see a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, and a potential failure. It makes a double bottom here. So the thing I don't like about this second entry long failure is if it had come up and touched the EMA, I would have been more happy with it. But also it's coming up against the low of day. The low of day is where this red line is. So it made a low of day here. So it's coming up against this low of day. It's also in this trading range, and it's coming right at the low. So I'd be selling at the low instead of selling at the high. So all those are telling me, don't do it. Just stay away. Wait for something better. It comes out that it turns out that it actually works. It breaks down below this guy, but it could have easily just bounced right back up. So then prices continue moving down. And I have this trend channel drawn at this point, and I'm just like, okay, I touched a couple times up here, just about once here. And I start throwing the midline here, and it looks like it's just kind of reacting around the midline, not really giving me clear direction, except that it's bearish. But I'm looking for any good setups, but I can't find any potentially good setups. It's bouncing around. EMA is still holding it below, which is good. I mean, it's not good, but it's confirming that the bearish downtrend is continuing. Prices continue chopping, moving. I don't see for like almost a whole hour, I don't see any good clean setups that I could take. So you had to have already been in it and been writing it down. Or, anytime it gets close to the EMA, if there's a second entry, then you should probably take it. But I didn't really see any good setups. Or if it gets back to this channel, I should probably be considering as entry. But it also never really quite got to this channel. Granted, my channel could be drawn incorrectly. It might be another channel that would be clean enough, but that's the way I had it, and that's what I'm using as a guideline. Then I was making a small consolidation area here. Now it's breaking up. Now, so this is what the whole chart looks like at this point, right? It started off the day, rally, sell off, chop, 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 rally, almost makes it back to the top, sell off, 2 legs down. 2 legs down, I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's been played out, might be a potential move back up. So when I saw this, I saw, okay, it's a first entry short, second entry short. Okay, maybe restart the count. First entry short, there's no real second entry short. But what if I looked at it as 1 leg up, pullback, second leg up, pullback? So I was thinking maybe there's a visual second entry short failure, because technically this candle caused this candle is 1 tick above this candle, so it's starting to fail and it's above the EMA. The one thing I wish it would be if this was actually closer to the EMA, because I don't have this trend channel drawn yet or established. If it came closer, touched the EMA, on top of that, this bearish bar is just too strong right now. So I don't know. And on top of that, the whole context is still going bearish, even though, as I said, it looked like it made 2 strong legs down, but that doesn't mean it couldn't keep going down. It's also within this big channel right now. So I didn't take the trade. I saw it and I just wondered about it. So it's just definitely a skip trade. Like, okay, it's better to wonder and not lose money. And then it goes up. And I do see a higher low. So on my first entry long, okay, well, first entry short, second entry short fails. This could be considered confirmation higher low because it confirms this visual second entry short, failed second entry short. But the problem I'm running into is now I have this channel drawn and I have this one touching up here. If I have to do this much interpretation and second guessing and wondering if this is right or wrong, instead of having a nice, clean, high probability setup, if I'm guessing, okay, well, I could interpret it like this and I had to squint my eyes and kind of look at it sideways. Okay, then I can see this, it's definitely a higher low, but is it really a higher low confirming this thing or not? I feel like that's definitely a trade I should stay away from. On top of that, it's running right up into the top of this channel, which has, rejected before. So even though there's a break outside and it comes back in, there's just all these things happening that make me just take pause. And again, it's better for me to just skip a trade, miss out on making money, as opposed to taking a trade that isn't confident and then losing money so I'll beat myself up. So the prices continue moving up. It's chopping around. It's really like I don't see very many opportunities today, other than the 2 that I pointed out earlier. It's coming back down, and I'm just sitting on my hands watching. I mean, there isn't really any clean candles or clean setups because these candles are pretty tiny. But on a regular trending day, these tiny candles, then you'd be, okay, it's definitely a trend going down or a trend going up because they're tiny candles with, very minimal pullbacks. But when I see this kind of choppiness, it's hard to really jump on board and take a position or take a side. So just sitting on my hands. Prices continue to move. So I do see another setup here. So I see a new low here. It's a first entry short, comes down. So far it's pretty clean. Now this is considered a second entry short by a strict count. But if I look at this 1 leg, comes down, comes up, there's potentially like, well, is this going to be the second entry short or is this going to be the second entry short? Well, if you look at it, this looks like it's two clean legs up, but in the moment, it's hard to really know because you just see this and you think, okay, was it going to turn down now? Is that the end of the second entry short, or that's the beginning of the second entry short? This is a pretty big candle. I don't like that because it's just side by side at this point. It's too much congestion. So I certainly left it alone, didn't try to find it or read it as a second entry short. But I do see this as a new high, first entry long, second entry long. Now this is a pretty big candle, but this was the signal bar. The signal bar is looking pretty terrible. But then the next subsequent bar is engulfs this entire candle. It breaks one below and goes straight up. That tells me, okay, there might be a little more room to, a little more leg to get up to here. I mean, if this is just based off of this isn't a very good signal bar, but this is a pretty good confirmation that prices might be going up. And reversal could be, having legs breaking out of this guy. But I saw that. I just wasn't 100% sure. I just kind of left it alone. Turns out it shot up and it would have gotten, a pretty good trade out of it. But then if you stayed too long, it would have reversed immediately on you. And if you look at the timestamp on this is like 11:41, 11:42, 11:42, 11:43. So this happened pretty quickly in a span of about a minute. So you couldn't really do it dilly-dally. You'd have to move your stop loss up or you have to take the whole position off. Prices continue moving up. I draw this trend channel now because I have these three confirmations, kind of overshoot, and I try to make it touch and as clean as I can to try to capture as much as I can, but it just looked like, well, it looks like what it looks like. I saw a first entry long here and a potential second entry long, but I don't like that signal bar. So even when this formed, it's like, okay, well, definitely it's too late. If this one had actually closed a little higher, it would have been a decent entry to take because it's riding against the EMA at this point, but it didn't turn out that way for me. So at this point, it's kind of like getting about to the last hour of the day. I'm just watching and I'm just deciding, you know what? I don't know if there's going to be a trade that's going to happen today. So just kind of keep watching, looking for setups. It could be a first entry long, second entry long, third entry long. I didn't really quite see anything worthwhile to take. Prices continue chopping around and it does break down and through. And that's kind of just sat on my hands for the rest of the day and just watched the rest of the price action. I did, see a consolidation area, but this is too late in the day to try to take an entry. Plus, it's not really setting up or telling me, the market isn't really telling me like, oh, I'm getting ready to do something. And so it just goes all the way up to the close, which is right here. And then in the after hours, you just kind of see it spike back up. But this is a Friday, so it's not going to reopen again in the afternoon or early evening because it's just going to be closed now until Sunday. So that's kind of how I saw it today. It's certainly pretty choppy. I didn't see too many great setups other than the ones up here in the front. This first one to go short, and then this one to go long. Yeah, just kind of wish there were a little bit more. Wish there were a little more opportunities, or I also just wish that I was more experienced at reading these charts because some of these might have been actually better than I anticipated. So hope that was helpful.